Alright guys, so we're going to be moving the lecture forward here, just kind of the next progressive step up. We're going to be covering slightly more, and this is kind of some basic building techniques. So I'm just going to start here with an empty screen. We're going to erase the person that's there. I'm going to start with the pen tool, and so this is an example of how I would kind of draw like a 10 by 10 room. So I start at the origin usually. It's hard to see, so I can start over here if I want, just so you guys can see where the actual lines are going down. So 10-foot room, 10 foot, 10 foot, and I'm just letting it snap onto those natural axes right there. When you do this, make sure that you don't have like any tension in your mouse cable if you're using a wired mouse, because what I've seen sometimes is people they drop the mouse here and then they take their hand off the mouse, especially on the school computers where the cables are kind of bunched up, and then like it'll drift like over here as they're typing. So just make sure it sticks on that red axis when you're doing this. And then I'm going to complete that, and we end up with a 10 by 10. This probably would have been faster if I was doing a rectangle and I could have just done 10 foot, comma 10 foot. But eventually you're going to get to a point where like you're probably drawing different shapes separate from that. So then from here, I can offset this, and I'm going to do 6 inches. We'll just call this an exterior wall right here. And then the easiest way to create walls off of this is to just pull this up right here. And so I'm going to create this as 8-foot tall walls. So I'm just going to type 8 foot with the push-pull tool there. And that'll get these walls up to the height of 10 foot. Or sorry, 8 foot. Next, we need to put a door in here. And doors are a little bit more challenging in here. They take kind of a little bit of work. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, again, reference this line right here. And again, make sure you're using the edge here, not the corner. I'm going to use the edge right here. We're going to do 6 inches off the side of here. And then we're going to call this a 3-foot wide door. So I'm just going to make this next line 3 foot. And then let's say that we have a window over here. So I'll do, I don't know, let's do 2 foot off that wall, and then a 3-foot wide window as well, just so we can kind of do similar things here. From the ground, I'm going to do 6 foot 8 up, and this is going to give us the top framing for each of those. And then this was a 3 foot, so we'll do a 4-foot tall window right here. So with these rulers that I've just put down, basically I have the box right here for a 3 foot by 4 foot window, and then I have a 3 foot by 6 foot 8 door. So I can use the rectangle tool, and I can draw. Oops, missed that intersection. Just draw that right there, draw that right there, and then I'll use the push-pull tool to push through here. And when you're doing this, make sure that when you push through, you see that little glitchy, like, see how it kind of glitches right there? Sometimes it just does like a little tiny corner. Sometimes it does a whole bunch that's super easy to see, like that. But make sure it shows you that glitchy bit, and then it says that offset limited to, because that's an indication that, hey, this is where it's going to do this, and then you can click and it'll actually cut that all the way through so that you can see through that, right? I'll do the same thing here, and sometimes it gets a little weird, and there we go. So I've now cut a window and a door through this space. So now that I have that, the next step I want to do is I'm actually going to, before I start actually building anything to fill those in, what I'm going to do is I'm going to triple click on here. Remember, triple click is the one that selects everything. So I'm going to select this entire thing here, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to do make group. And groups was something I kind of tried to skip over in the last lecture, but I'm going to go a bit more in depth in here. Obviously, groups is just like grouping, right? You guys dealt with groups before. We have another option here as well in SketchUp, which is make component. We'll kind of get into that in a minute. So once I've made this a group, if I can start drawing on this, right? And it's not going to attach. This group is a group, and these things that I'm drawing here are not going to attach to that in any way. If I was to copy this over here, and then we can ungroup it, or explode it, I guess. I just wanted to show you guys the difference here before I go on. If I start drawing on this like I did the other one, you can see that some of these surfaces are actually attaching here. They're creating new geometry as part of this, and I might not necessarily want like another window right here, right? So as you're working through it, make sure that you group things, and this is something I kind of mentioned to you guys in class. But make sure you're grouping things so that you don't accidentally like intersect like a cabinet with your walls. So that's why I always recommend the first thing you guys do is you group your walls as soon as you're done with them. And um, this is a small demo, so like when I do the lecture next week where I show you guys, um, you know, how to do like a whole, or when I start working on my project, 3 for you guys to see what I do. Um, what I do is I build the walls and then I immediately group them. And so this gives me a way where I can now start placing stuff on here without worrying about it intersecting with models that I bring in or other things that I do on top of this. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to double click inside this on this group right here, and that's going to give me this little bounding box right here. This indicates that I'm inside of a group or a component. Again, we'll cover components in a minute. But that indicates that I'm there. You can hit the escape key. So if I hit escape, it's going to jump me out, or I can double click on this and then click anywhere outside of this. So see how I'm in it? If I click here, it'll like kind of get me out, but as long as I'm clicking on the thing, it's going to keep me here inside of this group. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the floor that's right here, which I have right now, and I'm actually going to do that right there because I want to get that little line too. And I'm going to do Control X, which is the same as Edit Cut, and then I'm going to back out of here, and I'm going to do Edit Paste in Place. And I so wish that this was bound as Control Shift V, like it is in a lot of programs, because this is super handy. Because I just cut that out, now I can paste it back in place right here. So now if I triple click this, I now have this floor chunk as well, and I can group this as well. And so that means that I can start working on these two things separately. So I might not want to have my floor, or I might want to hide the walls. And so in that process, what I would use is tags. So tags are this thing, they used to be called layers, and I will probably at some point say layers because they were layers for so long. They are tags now. Your default layer is untagged, but I can click on the little plus sign right here and I can add a new tag. So I'm going to call one of these walls, and I'm going to call the other one a floor. And to assign them to those things, there's this entity info tab right here. If you got, some of you guys didn't have this the other day, by the way. If you don't, turn it's going to be window default tray, which is what this is, and then you probably, if it's not visible, you will have show tray right here. So if you don't have it, click on show tray. Otherwise, that's how you get that in here. So I have walls and floors, entity info, and then again, just like kind of I mentioned in AutoCAD, you always want to be building on this default untagged layer and then move things to other layers. So once I'm done with my floors, I'm going to click on them, and then I'm going to change this to floor. I'm going to click on my walls, and I'm going to change this to walls. And now I can toggle my walls off, or I can toggle my floor off. It's a small step, but if you're able to work around your model by just turning off your walls, it can actually speed you up by working through placing different things, getting things organized. Similarly, if you have a very complex model, like I showed you guys that thing of where I pulled in that bed and made 6 copies of it, and my computer just shut down at the end of the lecture. Um, some of your models are going to get very complex, and by the end, it's actually kind of handy for you to be able to hide certain things so you can continue working quickly. So if you have maybe you group everything by room, right? So if you're working on bedroom 1, you hide bedroom 2 so you don't have to deal with it. So that's a great way to sort things here in the tags. So for this right now, I have this right here. One thing I'm going to do, and this is a little trick, I show this to the classes, and I'll be doing it later too, is creating baseboards. And I have a simple trick for it, and it takes a little bit of like extra work, but especially as you get a larger floor plan. But if you just double click into your floor right here, and then use the offset tool, and I'm actually going to offset it inwards this time, and I'm going to do it by 1/2 inch. And what it does is it gives me this little lip around the bottom of everything. See, I just got stuck in my walls. And then I'm going to pull this up 2 inches. So if I do that, that gives me baseboards, and it's one of those little detail things that's like, it's very, see, it's very minor, but it really helps kind of complete the look of your floor plan by just kind of adding that little thing at the bottom of your walls that makes them look a little bit more realistic. So we talked about materials. There's a couple different ways you can apply materials, and I'm gonna copy this over here just so I have a copy. Let's do that as well. So as I'm applying materials, what I can do is double click inside of here. Again, because this is a group, I can't, well, okay. I can directly apply materials here. And let me just, we'll throw a red on here. And see how it goes red like that very easily? But if I come over to this one, and I go in here, and let's say I apply this green to that wall, and then back out of this group, and then I come back and apply this, see how that green wall stays? So one of the things that happens when you just default, when you apply a color to a group in bulk like that, is that anything that is default will gain that color, but anything that you've already assigned will not be overridden by that. So if I had already gone in here and did a bunch of different colors here on my walls, and I've got that, then when I come in and add something else, the original colors stay. So that's something I want you to be aware of, just in case there's a very few specific circumstances where that's a handy thing to do. Similarly, if I was to click on or in model, let's see. Actually, let's go to colors. Oh, right. I wanted to reset it. Default is right here. So if I wanted to reset this all to default, I can go in here, triple click on the default material right there, and then reassign that. And then again, this is set to that from the outside of here. So then I'd also have to click on the group from the outside to apply that default material. So as far as SketchUp is concerned, and you can see it right here, if I select these faces, these are default. This is a weird thing that people run into just kind of every once in a while, and I wanted to point it out. They're like, hey, I was doing this and it says it's default, but it's red. Well, it's because you're outside. It was applied to the group, okay? Something else I want to show you, and we'll leave those alone for a second. You guys don't have to do this. I'm going to just make a couple weird little shapes right here. Come on. So I've got this shape right here, right? And I want to show you guys what the difference is between a group and a component. So these I grouped, but this I'm going to make a component. Actually, let's do a line, because I've done a line in the past, and I think that's a good way to show it. So this one, I'm going to make a group, and this one I'm going to make a component. And we're just going to call this cylinder. And then each of these, see how visually they're very similar, right? They've got that same bounding box that indicates that it's something that, like, I can draw on top of this, but it's not going to affect it in any way. So functionally from the outside, a group and a component are the same thing. But if I take these and I start moving them, what's this? We'll do a 4 foot X, we'll do a multi by 6. Okay, so we've got 6 of these in each direction. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this one. And remember, we triple clicked on here. There we go. And then I'm going to draw a rectangle on that face, and I'm going to pull this out. And you see how when I did that, all of these components got updated with that same information? But if I go to this group right here, and I do something similar, I don't think this is that's probably the same face, and I do this to this group right here, none of the other groups here change. So if you're working on something where you're going to have it be reused multiple times, but you might change it later, I highly recommend you guys use a component. Because a component's going to let you go in and be able to change that thing one time, and then if you need to fix it, you can just go in and fix one, and all the rest of them are going to update. Whereas if you do it with a group, and we're talking things like lighting sconces, chairs, or if you were working on an office, maybe you have a set of like desk chair combinations for the employees, and you generally know what the desk dimensions are, so you can create something that fills that space. But if you want to slightly alter the desk design or put in a different chair, well, you can take that design, swap the chair out, or that component rather. You can swap the chair out in one, and all of them will be updated. Whereas if you had grouped that desk and the chair, you'd have to go to each individual group. So if you use if you use the components correctly, you can save yourself a ton of time. It's something that I used incorrectly at first, where I just kind of made everything a component, and it became a problem. When in doubt, you're probably fine using groups, but if you can plan a little bit ahead, use components. So I just wanted to point that difference out. Something else is, again, with colors. If I go in here to apply color, oh, we don't want named. Let's go to colors. So I can apply, again, it's the same idea, right? I can apply a blue here, and then I showed you guys this, where if I just apply it from the outside, it does that. With a component, I have a similar thing going on. So if I don't, but right now, see how all these are selected? So I can do that, and again, it updates all of them. But if I come through with this, I can do this one at a time to them individually if that default layer is still out. So again, there are weird random occasions where you either do this accidentally and don't know how to get out of it, or if you are able to kind of plan a little bit in the future, you can leverage this to quickly restyle a design. So again, I wanted to point out just again differences between groups and the components. Oh, and then I kind of glossed over the entire component menu very quickly. Let me go back in here real quick. We'll just explode this, and then we'll make it a component. So when you name or when you create a component, you do have this menu that pops up. To do that, I actually hit G on the keyboard. You can name it, you can give it a description, and then if you do want to get kind of weird, you can like get all in it. You can set attributes here, determine the size, whatever. This is something that I've rarely seen anyone actually leverage, but it's something that does work. And then you have this option too for alignment. Occasionally you will start working or you will import something like a light sconce, for example. And it's not going to show up in every situation, and it's because someone actually came in here and set this to glue to vertical. So if you were to use that, it would only apply to a vertical space versus a horizontal. We have that, again, it's usually an issue we see with lighting because people actually set it on some of those things. We typically don't see it in anything else. So, again, one of those things to watch out for when you are bringing stuff in from the 3D warehouse. So, let's get rid of these here and we'll get back to this. So I'll delete those. Oh, there's my floors. So, at this point, again, we kind of I mentioned, hey, you guys are going to want to work on, I mentioned that you guys are going to be building your Project 2s from AutoCAD into your Project 3. So I just wanted to give you a very basic demo of how to build this space right here. The other thing I wanted to show you guys was how to build doors. So real quick, I'm just going to come in here first, and we're going to take this little chunk right here, and I'm going to draw a little line here, and I'm going to draw a little line here, and this is going to let me just get rid of this little vertical spot right there. If I clean up these lines, that just gets the baseboard so that they're intersecting with the door here, because the door is now going to be sorry, my dog is just being adorable right now. Alright, so the door is going to be the thing that actually determines what fills in this space. So I'm going to hide my floor, I'm going to keep my walls up. Now again, because I made this a group, I can draw directly on it. So you can see right now that icon, the little circle, is purple. Anytime it's purple, that's because it's on a group or a component. So I'm going to take this right here, draw a rectangle across, and I kind of went over this in the last lecture. I just erased that bottom, but you can see right here, if I highlight it, that there's still this blue border around here. That's because this is a, it's because there's still those lines there after I erase this bottom line. See how I've still got this? I can triple click on this and it's not going to select everything. So, again, I'll come in here and, oop, nope, really got myself mixed up there. There we go. Okay, so, I showed you guys I keep missing it. All right. I showed you guys how I did doors, but I just wanted to walk over that process again because I think it's something that's very handy for you guys to learn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in this corner, and I'm just going to go out 2 inches. I'm going to go this way 0.5. I'm going to go this way 2.5. So that gives me that lip. Oh, I'm going to go this way 2.5. And then I'm going to go part way in, and what I'm going to do is probably go about 3, yeah, we'll do 3 inches. That feels good. I'm going to bring it in another 0.5 over 0.5. And this gives you kind of that molding strip that's in the middle of the door right there. What happened there? We'll just lock it there. This distance right here, if I hold down, again, I showed you guys this the other day. If you hold down shift, it locks it, and it lets me visually see what's down here when I snap there. So it's 3.5 inches. I can do 3.5. No, be noisier. And then we'll do 2.5. Or in fact, I could snap it. Oops, not green. We want green right here. And then I can actually match it up so that it matches here. This is another way where you can, if you know what something is on the other side, you can do that to match. Something else I haven't quite introduced to you guys yet is if you hit K on the keyboard, see how everything kind of just gets a little transparent as I hit K. So it turns this kind of transparency view on. That's pretty handy for working through things so that I don't have to keep like switching sides here to work on this. So if I want to, I could also come out this way, make sure I'm on the red axis, hold down shift so that it turns bold right there, and then I can fill in this extra space right here and then just close in that face. Now, I drew the rectangle already that goes along the outside of this door, so now, like I showed you guys, I can go to Tools, Follow Me, and then I'll turn K off because sometimes that makes it even more confused. And then again, remember it fails usually, but sometimes we got lucky. Let's see if we got lucky right here. So this is my door frame right here, okay? So I'll triple click on this and I'm gonna immediately make it a group. It's because anytime I'm working on something, I always wanna make it a group so that I don't have to worry about it intersecting with anything else. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come back to the outside. And technically I should be working on the inside because the door is going to open towards the inside. But it's going to make it easier for me to work on the outside here and then move it to the inside of the door. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw a rectangle and I'm going to go from this corner right here. And then this is something else too that I haven't mentioned too is you guys know about pan. You can hit H and then I can hit R to go back to the rectangle tool. Alternatively, what I could do, let's say I'm still in the rectangle tool, if you double click on the middle mouse button, it'll jump you somewhere where your mouse is. So that's a quick way to just kind of jump over to something without doing anything that might disturb like everything else going on. So I'm going to come down here, I'm going to draw this rectangle to right here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up a little bit higher because I know what my next step is going to be. So I'm just going to offset this that extra like ½ inch in or ¼ inch because otherwise it's just kind of a pain to draw. And then I can double click on here and see how because I offset that, I now have this center area that's here. So I can just delete that. And now I have this solid door or this door panel right here. I can push pull this out and we'll do this, we'll do a 3/4 inch thick door. So I'll just do 3/4 on the push pull. And then again, I can triple click on this door, so now I have it selected. Right click, make group. So that's now my door. I can hit K so that I can see through these walls. And I'm just going to slide this to the other side. Again, we'll go to red axis, hold down shift. Actually, we'll just do red axis. That's 1 1/4. We'll do 1.5 in. So it's just on the other side of that framing right there. And then, so I showed you guys how to do that lamp the other day. What we're going to need on this door is we're going to need a door handle. So again, we'll do a measurement up. We'll do 34 inches. We'll go You know what? I should have drawn this before I moved it over. Let me see where it is. There it is. Okay. Just had to find my line right there. And we'll do 4 inches in. That's not inches. Okay. And then, so just like I showed you guys how I did that lamp the other day, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start and I'm just going to draw do a 1-inch radius circle right here. We'll do a line from the center here going straight out. 3 inches is good. And then what I'm going to do is come right here and we'll create this profile. So I'm going to just, again, snap to the right axis, hold down shift, go to right there so that it lets me connect this. So now I just do a second click and it's good. We'll close this here as well. And then this gives me, again, that profile that I'm going to use to create my door handle. So I can go here. I can go right there. Oh, nope, I missed the edge. Make sure you're on the edge right there. So I can go right here. I can do that little gap. And then I can do a circle right here. And that's a bit too close. That's a bit too close. This I'm just guesstimating, clearly. And we can move this. That part doesn't matter. It's this part that matters. And I'm just going to move that right there. I think that looks fine. So I can erase this, clean up that so that I have one cohesive face right here. And then tools, follow me. And as usual, it messes up. But I can do that little circle right there. Let's do that again. And there we have a nice door handle. Very short amount of time. And again, actually I'm going to move this another 2 inches in. And then I can immediately group this and I don't have to worry about it now. Now, so I have this door and it's made of this handle, the door, and this door frame. So I want to make this a group in and of itself, and theoretically I think because of this is something that is specific. This is a door foot that is 3 foot wide by 6 foot 8. In this case, this is something I'd probably want to make a component so that I have a reference to it. So I can make this 3 foot by 6 foot 8 exterior door. Oops. Door. I can spell. Okay. So we'll do create, and now this is a component. Again, it functions just like a group, but if I have multiples of these in the drawing, I can work with them to update them in different ways. So if I wanted to go in here, if I had a couple of these, I could go in here, and you can see sometimes as I'm working, it's going to update that other group right there. So if I wanted this to be like a bronze colored door handle or something like that, I could apply that. I could leave the door itself white, and then I could come in here and apply a wood, just a wood, that, and that lets me reuse this component here. Again, just like Sketch or just like AutoCAD, you can export these, create a library for yourself. You can upload them to the 3D warehouse, like I mentioned I did at one point. And use them. You basically just search for your own username and you can pull your own stuff back down from the web anytime you want. Okay, so next I want to show you guys how to build a window. It's a very similar process. So I'm going to draw a rectangle across here. That should already be familiar. The one difference is you have to build in the middle. So right now, again, I have this rectangle right here. You can see that I have the lines going across the outside there. I'm going to single click here and I'm just going to delete this plane. This is the face. So I still have, and if I double click on it just right, you can see I still have the border around it there. So I can go in here. I usually just find the midpoint because it's a good reference point. And again, I can go 2 inches out, 0.5, snap right there, 2.5 over 2. We'll come out. What am I doing? No, this is a window. we'll just do out to here. This face right here, so I can reference the face. See how I snap to red, hold down shift, and then it's going to tell me this face, so it's 6.5. So 7 will be good right there if I had that extra ½ inch. K to go see-through, assign there, and then right there you can see I get on face in group to the edge and back over. And so now when I do this, because I have this going all the way around, it's basically the same process. If I do follow me, it actually... See, sometimes it's weird. You do the click and sometimes it just auto-completes and it's super smart and other times it doesn't. So this time I'm just going to have it follow me around this edge right here and I get that frame for this window. Next what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw this in 2 inches. And then again we'll group this so that I don't affect anything that's here. We'll do another 2 inches in. I can do K, and where is it? I want that corner, and I want, which one? That corner right there. And in this case, it's going to snap to red because it's going across the red axis right there. So it's perpendicular to the red. If you had done it a different direction, you might see a perpendicular to green when it snaps right there. This now is going to be the window, and just like AutoCAD, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this up a little bit. We have a midpoint right here, so if I turn that off, let's see, there it is. I can move this bottom line up, and then once it's here, I'm going to move this down another inch. I can offset this in, and we'll just go 3/4 of an inch in. Delete that face, push this in, and we'll call this 3/4 of an inch in as well. And then this very quickly becomes a window frame. I can make this a group, and then I can draw across here. And again, because I've grouped it, now I don't have to worry about this intersecting with anything else. I can move this 1/16 of an inch in. I can push pull it so that it is a 1/4 inch thick. And it's kind of hard to see there, but you can see that there's, if I go in here, you can see there's that thickness right there. So this is the outside right here. That's the inside right here. Triple click. We can make this a group. And then SketchUp actually has an entire section of materials in here. So actually let's, again, we talked about materials. So let me go into the actual frame. Well, again, we'll make that wood. We'll go in here. We'll make this, I'm sure there's a white right there. And that's just so it doesn't get overridden by the default. And then we can find, what do they move? They moved glass and mirrors. And any of these will typically work. Let me get out of that. Triple click on the window, and then we can do transparent glass gray. I think either of these, so I just did the gray one right here, but if I do the blue one, I think in both cases that's kind of overbearing, so anytime I apply these, what I usually do is I just rename this to window glass, and then I edit it and I drop this opacity down, and I think that just, I think it's too intense otherwise. So then now that I have this, I can take this, we can group these. I can hit K, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the outer corner right there. So this is the outside corner of this window frame, and I'm going to move it down to here, and then I'll just have to scooch this back up to there so that it's in the right position. And then I can, because the window is grouped to the frame, I just select both frame, or both of these, and then there's the actual window frame itself right here, and then this I can make a component. So this is my 3-foot by 4-foot exterior window. So again, it's I hope you guys are understanding at least this process that I'm going through. I know it's a little bit boring to watch this. Um, Hopefully not dizzy. Um, but I just want to show you guys that process of this is a way where you can create doors and windows um, that isn't going to drive you insane, and it's probably faster than finding the exact door you're looking for or the exact window you're looking for without having to go into SketchUp's warehouse and spend an hour there. So let's get back to this part right here. So we can go in here. I'm going to leave these baseboards white, which means if I'm applying a color to my floor, the floor is just going to be one click. Whereas if I do the baseboards, it's going to take me a minute to do that. So a shortcut around that is I can triple click here on the floor. I can go to colors. We'll find that white again. And I'm going to click. And again, you visually won't see anything because that default light face that we talked about is going to be basically the same white. But this prevents me from coming in here and applying that and something changing. So now I can come in, select the actual floor surface, and let's change this to, we'll do carpet in here. I guess that's fine. And then for the walls, again, we'll double click on the walls and let's choose a color here. So we'll do gray. I don't know why I'm feeling gray right now. Okay, so that gives us those gray walls with that gray cart. Wow, yeah, this is a super gray design. I didn't think about that. Anyway, and then this door handle is too low. What are you, 33 inches? 36. Okay. Oops. So that's how that is the basic build process here in SketchUp. All right. You can layer on things. You can do different steps. You can bring stuff in from the warehouse. But a lot of it is just repeating this process over and over and over. Give me a minute. I want to pull something else up for you guys. All right, so this is actually my grad student project, or my graduate, not my grad student. I didn't do grad for this program. Um, but this was my senior studio project that I have. So it was a car dealership that I built here in Chico. And there's a couple things I wanted to show you that I used here to kind of speed up that process. So I mentioned that you can reuse different components, right? So if I click on this, you could see this entire body of the dealership is I actually think it's a component. Yeah, it's a component. I don't know why. Again, I used to over componentize things. More things should be grouped. So if I double click on this right here, and I can click on this section, and you see that this right here is a component. But if I were to change this color, you'll see that this is actually something where I made, because I leveraged the idea that when you draw a circle, you have a certain number of flat faces. So I leveraged that to create a component that would fit inside of that, so I wouldn't have to like laboriously do all these different sections together. And you can see if I change the, let me get in there. You can see if I change the color right there, I made two components that basically cover the entire wing of this section. So I only had to do this little chunk here once, and then I think right here, these left and right are basically the same thing. And you can see right there, this is actually one window. So to do most, like this whole wing of the dealership, it was essentially me drawing one of these window frames and then this panel and then copying those out and then using SketchUp's native weird way where it draws circles where you have all these steps right here. I leveraged that to basically template out this entire way around the building. The other thing I want to mention, and just so you guys don't think I'm crazy, well, no, you think I'm crazy, that's fine. Come on, go back. Okay. So I had mentioned that thing about the, what was it? The actual chairs in those wheels, and this is that actual chair that I was talking about the other day, if I can get in here. So these were this is that wheel that I rebuilt. Whoever built the original chair that I used for this, it had a crazy number of faces on it. You can see here, I just did an 8-sided thing right there. Because honestly, no one's going to see like the wheel of that chair in any of my renderings when I'm sitting, oops, anywhere, right? No one's going to see that, but it was, I think, a third of the polygons that this entire model used. So it was something that wasn't necessary, but it slowed down my work speed. So I simplified it so I could work quicker. Now, something else that I haven't mentioned yet, and I'll switch back to the other thing in a second, is scenes. And you can see that there's this bar here across the top, and it has all these different labeled scenes. So if I go to scenes right here in the default tray, um, yeah, it probably doesn't have them because this is from 2010 or something. So you can see that there's a selection of different scenes here in this. And so what I used was these scenes to string together an animation. If you guys look somewhere else on my YouTube channel, there's actually the animation here that flies through here. Um, but with the glass removed because I had an issue. So you can use these scenes to animate a walkthrough of your building. And as you can click on them if you want. The animation program I had actually strung them together automatically. Um, and this isn't as smooth as it was because I'm clicking some of them early, but you can see that there's a whole bunch of stuff here. But this entire file that I worked on, including these cars that I brought in from the 3D warehouse, is 22.4 megabytes. This is smaller than that bed file that I brought in the previous demo with these cars. So when you're bringing stuff in from the warehouse, again, make sure it's not crazy big because it will slow down your work. It will make it difficult for you to do anything. But what I want to point out more was the scenes, all right? So, and then just how heavily I leveraged a lot of these things like these cups. I didn't need to make them super complex, so they're just hexagons, right? Um, these little boxes here are literally just boxes because if I'm taking an image or a rendering from this far away, I don't need to add a whole bunch of detail to these to make them look good. They look fine from a distance. Um, Similarly, here's the desk. This desk I made, you can see right here just because of the way it's highlighting how much I simplified that curve. But like these chairs were something where I can't do this chair. This is too much, right? So I pulled this chair in from the warehouse, simplified the wheels, and then moved on. These doors, I believe I made the doors. I'm pretty sure I made the doors. And then this roof was a nightmare, especially cutting the holes there in the ceiling. Um, yeah. So anyway, this was my senior project. I just wanted to show you guys that because I have it here on my desktop. Let me grab one other one. Where? Okay, so this was another design. I actually used this the semester that we did VR because this is actually a super fun place to walk around in. But this was, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Earthships. I was in the middle of designing this for reasons. And so I got about this far through designing it. And again, it's something where I wanted to show you guys how much I leveraged components to build this. So this looks very complex. And I think this is at the point where I learned to group more than I did component things. So you can see these things I click on, they're groups and not components, which is something that wouldn't have been the same for me in the past. What that lets me do, or what I could do if these were components, was I could use this to like close all the windows simultaneously. But that gets into something that SketchUp has added that we will be covering, I think, next week, which is dynamic components. We're not going to be covering that yet. But I just wanted to show you again, kind of like how much detail looks like there is in here. But a lot of this, like this railing, well, it looks like a fancy railing, but it's really just like, it's just this little tube right here that's extended. It's just this tube extended through here. And then this is the same element kind of repeated through this several times. This part right here, I just did a little tiny bit of an offset, but it gives that extra detail like I've got wood slats going through there. And if you guys want, again, I'll have this available if you guys want to walk through here. It's kind of just a weird little space. But it kind of lets you walk up and down the stairs and go through the hallways and stuff here. But this is, yeah, just an Earthship project I was working on. It has a nice little skylight up there. So there's different things that you can build on this. I just want to highlight kind of the range that you can go to here in SketchUp. So let me see if there's anything else I wanted to show you guys. There's this one too, and I'm actually going to switch to using toolbars. I need to bring the large tool set in. What I'm specifically looking for is this right here. We haven't gone over this, but it's the position camera and the walk. I can click on the position camera and it's going to put my camera there as if I was at, and this is in metric, so 160 centimeters, or basically it's like 5'7" or 5'8" or whatever. Um, when you position it with the position camera, once it's in position, it does look around. So I can use the left mouse to look around here. And this was a project that I worked on for my internship in China. And this is the, you can see the file right here. It's Shanghai Tower. So this is a building that was built in Shanghai, China. This was the original concept that, oh, sorry. What I was getting to was the walk. So you can click the walk and it'll actually let you walk around in a space. So it's a nice way for you to pretty easily visually kind of move around inside of SketchUp and let you visualize what a space looks like. In this case, I ended up redesigning the ceiling here with a different set of angular shapes that matched the desk here. But I thought this was a decent space that would allow you to walk around through here. So I wanted to show off kind of this tool because this actually lets you do that. But yeah, this was another project that I had as a intern. But I think this is the original source file. I don't know where my actual copy of what I did went. So we'll move on to the next one. This is a project I worked on with someone in somewhere in Oregon. It was a women's center. I forget where. I could probably figure it out. I know it didn't end up getting built. I know my trees look super weird, and this was just how we had to do trees for the rendering program I used, because I did a set of 3D renders for these guys. But again, this was a fairly simple project where I built this. They were building this new building, and they just needed some exterior 3D renders. So that's what I set up here. We had two scenes. So this allowed us to discuss, okay, where do we want the first render to go from? Here's scene one. This is where we want the second render to go to. This is scene two. So as you guys are working on your projects, it's really important that you guys figure out, especially if you're working in a group, where you want your images to be rendered from so that you can consistently work between those. And if you update anything, you can just update your renders from those scenes. This is something where if you have a large scale project like this, you might want to consider, like in this, well, where I'm going is like this was something that was only focused on exterior. So I didn't actually build an interior here. The entire interior of this is empty. Spin around. You can see there, it's empty. I think this is all just blocked out. Yeah. So this was an example of a project where it was just one more kind of like consulting project I did for 3D rendering. Unfortunately, it didn't get built. Or at least I'm pretty sure it did. I've checked Google Maps and I don't think it ever got built. But there are just, it works for exteriors as well. Close that. This is, so if you guys have ever been through the Sacramento airport, at the arrivals, this was a project I did with local artist Lynn Criswell. Let me see if I can get a picture of the actual installation. Yeah, here's an example. So this is the 3D rendering I did helping this artist out. And so this, when you come in through the Sacramento airport, it's the new wing. I forget how you have to go through. I've actually only been there once myself since it's been built. But I worked with her to generate this concept right here. We did some 3D renderings, figured out the layouts and everything, and then we ended up generating a series of 3D renders so she could visualize the space. Along with that, because I was working in AutoCAD to generate this, I was able to export this floor plan to SketchUp, use the floor plan here, These birds, the outlines were done in Illustrator. So again, Illustrator, AutoCAD, and SketchUp, because of the way they work, allow you to use these export files so that you can interact with things. So I was able to do that to generate this floor plan right here, and this is the actual finished photographed location. You can see there's that big red rabbit there. That's probably something you guys are more familiar with seeing. But this is the project that I worked on. And it took us, I think, a couple months. It was a fairly long project. But being able to do this helped her visualize what it would actually look like. And we went through several very complex iterations. But this is the final file right here. So there are a whole bunch of super cool things you can do with SketchUp. It's not just for like simple building homes. And as you've seen from some of the senior students, we do actually do very large projects with this. So it's not just about building like this little 10 by 10 room. So I think that's a tangent I want to go on there. Let me see. Styles. That's the other thing. I gloss over this every kind of once in a while. We should cover it. So here's the scenes menu. Again, let's go through how to make scenes. I pulled up the other project to talk about scenes and then went into history. So let's talk about scenes real quick. So to actually create a scene, I'm going to click Add Scene right here. It's going to generate this little image right here. It's going to generate that tab. I can move over here and generate a new scene. Now I can double click on the first scene, or I can change what tab I'm on right here, and it lets me jump through the project very easily. You can rename them, you can do a bunch of different things with them. I mentioned it the other day, but shadows, I told you guys to leave this off, but occasionally you do want to turn it on for whatever reason. So you can turn on shadows right here, just click that little thing right there. You can see, okay, this is what it looks like with shadows. It generally, especially if you're working on an interior space, it's not great. It's something you generally want to avoid because it just kind of makes your entire interior dark when you do this. But if you're working on something that might be like an outdoor patio, you can turn this on and you can see different things as far as how the light might go through that space. You do have some options here, like changing the time of day as well as the time of year. And this will alter the angle of the sun. So see how we're sitting at noon right now? And I can cycle through, and as we get into summer, the angle of the sun gets higher, and as we get into winter, the angle of the sun gets lower. Um, which is actually, that's why I pulled up the Earthship. That's why, okay. You can also adjust the light and dark levels. So if you want the dark to be really dark and the light to be really light, you can do that. But this is something that's sort of secondary to rendering, which we will be covering later. Um, this was kind of the cheap, dirty way that you could get some decent shading into SketchUp. So if this wasn't actually facing this way, let's say it was facing that way, you could at least kind of get some shadows going here. Actually, it's not even that great that way. Let's go something like that. Right now you have like some shadows going on, and you could kind of use this for a render, and it would be useful, more useful rather, than it would otherwise. If you guys want to export an image from SketchUp, like say this scene one is what you're all about, right? Oh, well, no, because I moved everything. Let's say whatever this location is, you're happy with this, right? So you can go to File, Export, 2D Graphic, and this is going to let you actually export an image, save it wherever you want, probably your downloads folder. Actually, let's do that. File, Export, 2D Graphic. We'll go to Downloads, Documents. No, we'll do Downloads. Just export it as that. And then here is that image. Now, when you're doing that, you have a couple options in this menu. So if I go to 2D graphic, you can see that so many dog pictures. Where am I? Oh, here we go. You guys can't see it because it's hidden off the screen. So there's this option right here, and if you click on options, it'll give you these different things to change the width and the height. So if you do for some reason need this at a larger image, you can actually uncheck this box right here, and then change this to something like 2400, and it will scale it. It will scale it approximately to the same aspect ratio that you were working with. Hit OK. We'll call this Untitled 2. Granted, this isn't going to be a huge difference, but here's the first one, and there's the second one. Obviously, I can change between them, but you really can't see a difference. But sometimes you need a higher resolution image than what your screen, especially on the school computers, can generate. So you can use that to bump up the resolution if you need to when you export your images from here. But again, hopefully you guys are going to be using Enscape in the next couple weeks, so you will be able to leverage that as a tool instead of just exporting SketchUp images and doing things with that. So let me see what else we need to cover. Okay, there's parallel projection. So let me get this actually facing. Shoot. Why did I do this to myself? Okay. Snap back. So parallel projection is a way where this is how you can generate 2D images. So if you turn this on, you see how everything just gets kind of weird. It's no longer in a perspective. So you can go to camera and then standard views, and then you'll kind of have to cycle through here because it's not obvious which one's which. I guess I got lucky there with front. So this would allow me to view this visually from the front. It is one of those things that's super handy where if I set up a scene here, I can switch back and forth between these. So if I go to scene 2, see how I'm in perspective? If I go to scene 3, it jumps me back into that parallel projection mode. This is also how you can, at least to a stop it. There we go. Generate elevations. It's a quick and dirty way. It's not great, but if where did my toolbar go? Turn that back on. And there is a section cut tool right here. And so if you click on the section cut tool, place that, it's going to ask for a name, whatever, doesn't matter for this. And then you can select it, and then we can move this into our building right here. If we want, I think the more interesting view is the other way, so I'm going to right click on it and choose reverse. Oh no, you know what? Because I didn't set up the view. So let's leave it facing this direction. And then I can go to scene 3 here. Oh, it hit it. Where did it go? One second, let me find where that went. Okay, so if we go view section planes, and then I can select the section plane, and now I have this section plane here. I can select it, and then let's see, we can hide it, because one of the things that it does is when it's there physically, it kind of adds this little tiny filter right there, so it kind of obscures what you're looking at. So if I was to select this cut and hide it, you can see how it gets kind of a more natural color there. And again, I can export a quick and dirty section cut off of this. Or rather, well, a section cut or an elevation. So I can use this to generate those documents very quickly and easily. Let's see, if I go back here, it's going to unset it. So what I would want to do in that case is turn on section planes, select that section cut, hide it, and then I would update this scene. Oh. No? Are we not letting us do that anymore? Let me see what's going on. Okay, I didn't notice this pop up, but this is what I should have seen right there. Update. Update. And now I should be able to jump back and forth between that, and it'll automatically hide that section cut. So it is cognizant of different things like what section cuts you have, what your camera perspective is set to when you set up a scene. And it just lets you kind of move around your model very quickly and change different things. So highly suggest you guys utilize scenes when you're preparing your projects for generating images for presentations. The other thing that you guys have here is styles, and this is something where there's a whole bunch of styles that, let me see, someone had, oh, there we go, large thumbnails. Okay. So there's a whole bunch of different styles you can apply in here. If you click on them, it's going to redraw your actual graphics so that it looks different. Not all of these are great. There's not a lot of cases where I'd use most of them. Like, what am I going to do with this? It's not even the right colors, right? But there's a couple different styles where it's going to show sketchy edges, I think, are a favorite. Because you can take this and kind of go, oh, this was my concept sketch. You can generate these basically on the fly, drop it directly in your presentation, and go, right? Um, there, yeah. So there's just different ones in here that you can mess with. There's also go back to color sets. Nah, I want sketchy edges. And then within here, you can actually choose other options too. So you can choose things like, and again, remember how I mentioned the very first thing? SketchUp is either an edge or a face. So you have these different options for managing the edges, the faces, um, whatever the background is in this case. So you can go through here and customize this. Maybe you want the background color to be, well, this wouldn't help you out any in this one. Um, yeah, so this one's just one that has nothing going on there. You can change, there we go. So that just changes your default faces, so they do whatever. Again, if I had set values here, that's on me. You can change the material transparency. That's not really something to, hide windows basically. If you want things to not be opaque, if you're just trying to get exteriors. You can change, oh, we're not going to do X-ray. You can go to what is this called? Come on, give me the tooltip. I always forget this called. Wireframe. There we go. I should know that. Always escapes me what it's called. But you can switch to a wireframe mode too if you want to view the entire building. Some of these are options too. Well, sorry, let me finish where I was going. You can go in here and actually mix these different things. So you can change the edge settings. You can change the model settings. So if I wanted to get the face settings from this, I could go there. If I wanted to get the color settings from here for the faces, I would drag that in. So you can kind of mix and match and create your own custom styles as well. But realistically, like one of these sketchy ones is going to be exactly what you need. And then just file, export a 2D graphic off of here, and you're good to go. Random other things I haven't shown you, just going down the list here. We should have gone over all these tools. The one we didn't go over is this, the polygon. When you start a polygon, I had shown you guys those coffee cups in the other thing. Probably what I did instead was use the polygon. Well, no, I probably used a circle because they were rounded. But a polygon by default is going to have 6 sides here. Again, using this polygon is literally no different than doing a 6-sided circle right here. The only difference, let me actually get out of there, and we'll go back to that so we can see. If I was to pull this up 1 foot on each of these, oops, you can see that I think, oh, no, now I forgot which one was which. This is the circle. And so the circle automatically adds that rounding to it. And some of you guys tried messing around with it. It's a little bit of a tricky tool to use the soften edges. You have to triple click on this and then you can change these values. And so you can choose to, and sometimes you just have to check and then uncheck it too. It's kind of a weird little thing here. But if we do soften coplanar, smooth normals, and then put a value up high enough right here, it will eventually kind of fake round itself and smooth that out so you don't see these hard lines. There's very little difference again between a circle, which is what these two are, and a polygon, except the edges are clearly defined on these polygons right here. So that's the main difference that's going on there. You have a couple other arc tools and things that are generally just not great. They're hard to use. I don't know why. I've never used any of them because the normal arc tool or circle is generally better. Um, One of the other tools that I didn't mention, but I kind of accidentally started using, was this one right here, the axes. Um, if you are generating a component, you want to set how do I put this? It redefines where the 0, 0 is for things. So if I go into this model right here, you can see that right here, this little, that red, green, blue axis thing, it's right here. But if I get out, it's over here. You can redefine where these axes are defined with this. And it's something that you occasionally need to do for your models and or for your groups and your components. It's there, or it's there rather. You guys will very rarely end up using that. Typically, you will never use it except on accident. So just be aware that it exists, and if something goes weird, it's probably because of this. We did the flip, we did tape measure, we've done protractor, which is basically just it's a rotation tool with more steps. So if I wanted to get one of these tape measure lines at an angle, that's what I'd use. There is different labels here for creating text and leaders. So if you wanted to label things in your drawing, you could do this. In this case, it's showing whatever that is, but this is the top of the wall. So you can add little notes in here for different things. Again, these will show up at different times, so it might be something where you want to add this to a layer that you will eventually hide before you generate. See, I called it layers. It's not layers, it's tags. So we can move this to that. These are labels, these are tags. Okay. Brain just went like flatline for a minute. So you can do that and then hide those labels so that they don't show up. Just like everything else. When you're erasing these lines, I find the eraser tool is just easiest. There's a text tool in here. It's pretty handy. You can choose I am text. You can change the font and do a bunch of other things. When you do this and you actually place it in your model, it's actually physically generated here. So it works. This is just something else you can manipulate with SketchUp. So there's some cool things you can do with text in here. For some reason, occasionally you might want to actually use this to generate something. When you're doing that, when you're in that process, I've seen students generate the text and then just use it straight as is. You can set the height right here so that you don't have to scale it. So if I want this text to be 16 feet tall and 3 feet thick, I can do that as well. So I don't have to worry about like scaling this up. I can get this, so this is now exactly, well, it's never exactly. Um, yeah, so that's 11 foot, 11, so basically it's 12 feet tall. But you can pre-configure some of those things so that you don't have to sit there scaling it. These are all your movement tools. We went over these a little bit. Field of view is something that I will argue with everyone about. One of the most obvious things, if you go to like an ASID conference or something, where a bunch of other students are presenting their work, the first thing you're going to notice is that SketchUp uses a very weird field of view. And something that I like doing is changing this from 35 degrees to 42 degrees. And you can scale it like that. It's one of those little things where just something about this 35 degrees is very recognizable. Let's see, 35. If I do 42, it's like I think this is a more natural view than the 35 degrees that SketchUp defaults to. That's a personal preference. I like to work in 42 degrees. Um, Again, it's entirely up to you. So, definitely went over an hour. Hope you guys are getting this. It's kind of a weird learning curve. I know a lot of not everyone, but like some people have trouble transitioning from a lot of the 2D work that we've been doing up to this point. And a lot of you have never worked in 3D before, so it's kind of a little bit of a like brain zap, and your heads are going to hurt for a while. That's just how it is. So we're going to take it a little bit slow. But next week we're going to cover a couple things. Like we're going to get into extensions. I might actually try developing a extension for you guys this semester. I haven't done that before, but I started looking up the code last class. It might be something I can do. So we'll see if I can look into that. Um, we've gone over the 3D warehouse. We've gone over pretty much everything else in the program. SketchUp is not a super deep program. It's one of those programs that just takes time to master, like really building a bunch of stuff in it. Um, I don't have the extension loaded, but we will also be going over. I think we'll be doing a quick VR demo next week, or not next week. Maybe next week. We'll see. I don't know. I need to check everything. But we'll be doing VR probably over the course of a couple days. So I'll let you guys move around inside of there and check that out. I'll probably have a demo I'll post up on here. We'll see how that goes. Um, and then we will go from there. So I'll see you guys in class.